All right, welcome back. So we are going to try something new, and I'm really actually doing this for some of my students in my class just to show them a really simple way to photograph a bottle. And there is a couple of tricks, but we're going to do this with one simple light. The trick here is that you're not going to move your camera and you're not going to move the bottle, which is the subject. The only object that you're going to move is the flash. Now, you can use a strobe or a continuous light to do this. I have a modifier, which is a snoot, which narrows the focus of the light. But let's dive in. A lot of what we're going to do here is done in Photoshop. So this whole trick or this process is enhanced or really works and makes this simple by using Adobe Photoshop. And so this is a cloning assignment that I do in my basic photography class. Now, I've never done it with a bottle, but essentially it's the same idea because a lot of what you do in photography is how you shoot it. It's not what Photoshop can do. Now, Photoshop does this, but the process has to be photographed right. I have these 4 images, and these are the images that I've selected, and I'll get into why they're selected here in a second. So what I'm going to do is hit Command A. It'll be Control A on a PC. I just want to select all my images. I am happy with the color balance in the exposure of all these photos. These were photographed. I was looking at a Mac. These were ingested directly onto a computer, so I saw what I was doing. So we're not going to make any adjustments here at all. Now, if you do make adjustments, you want to make adjustments usually, especially if they're color-wise, to all of them because you don't want to have one green and one odd. So we're going to go ahead and hit open because the trick here is to get these into Photoshop. However, I have a few photos already open, which really isn't what you want or ideal, but we're going to deal with it because I'm using those in the tutorial so we can see what's going on. So the next trick here is to go up to File, Scripts, Load Files into a Stack. And basically this is going to add all my open files that I have. So we have a whole bunch of them. I think I have one that doesn't fit. Now, because I shot this on a tripod and nothing moved, at least I hope nothing moved, I do not need to check attempt to automatically align source images. So we'll see how well I did and not moving anything, which could be risky. So let's go ahead and we've got all these images. We're going to hit OK. And what it's going to do, it's just going to stack all those images together. Now, this top one is one that we don't want. So we're just going to take this top image and I'm going to delete it from the stack because we don't need it. So let's take a look at what I was doing. So this is the image that I'm seeing on my computer. I am using the EOS Utility 3, and that allows me to control the exposure. So my exposure was ISO 100 f8 at 160th of a second. All right. And I had my flash set to flash so that the color doesn't shift a little bit. And basically I was just going through then and taking the images. And now I'm going to use those images to be combined in a photo. So how did I take these photos? Let's go ahead. We're going to get rid of this because we don't need to see it anymore. My first or second shot, it doesn't make a difference, but this is the setup. So we can see my camera's right here. It's on a tripod. It's vertical. I've got a remote to trigger this flash. This could either flash or a continuous light. I have a really 35-year-old snoot on this to focus the light right here in this direction. And I have this black gobo to block light so nothing falls and hits the bottle. Because if it does, it's going to create like a sparkle, and we don't want that. And the trick with translucency or glass or anything is to light the background, not the subject. So what I'll do is I'll bring in an image and I'll show you where I had a flash either off to this side or this side and tried to light it from behind. And it creates these horrible reflections on the side. It is not what you want. So you actually want to light the background. Now, if I had a translucent background, I could light the background from the back and have the light coming through here, but that's just more confusing. You want to light the background. That's the first image where I'm lighting the background. We can click over here. This is the second image. So I've moved the light, I've taken away the black gobo, and I'm just lighting the front of the bottle. And all I really care about is the label. I don't care about the bottle, and a little bit of light here on this cap. Now I left the plastic piece on the cap just because I didn't know if it should be on there or off there. So on the second one that we'll see here at the end, or is most likely the main image for the preview for this tutorial, I took that off. So I've got this light. We've got a white bounce card here, just bouncing back a little light because I was getting too much of a shadow over here. So I just wanted to fill it in with a little more light. And that's basically all I did. It was seriously a series of a couple of different exposures. Now, I didn't change f8, which is my aperture in this photo. I changed the power or the intensity of the image. So let's go ahead and get rid of this and let's go over to this image. So you can see in this image, here is the picture of the front of the bottle, and you can see the white card off to the right there. I also photographed this like this. All right. So I increased the power and made it a little bit brighter. So I wasn't sure if I was going to use a dim or a brighter version, or I wanted to combine the two. I also did different exposures here. So this exposure here, and we're going to rename this since we're doing this, is going to be my background, this photo. And because it's the background, I'm going to take it and move it down below that image. Now this image was to light the bottle. If you look, we're not getting enough light here. So on purpose, I overexposed the background so we got more of that light illuminating the bottle. So this is the bottle illumination, not up here. This image here is for the label, and this was also for the label, but maybe I'll just use that for this up here, or maybe we won't use it at all. What do we need to do? Well, we need to start combining the good elements of this photo. So the first thing that we need to do is go back here, and we're going to take this image right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to select out the bottle. How can we do that? Well, there's lots of different ways. We can simply try select subject. Now, I do not have the wonderful contextual taskbar up, but we'll hit select subject and see how well it does. And yeah, it did a pretty good job. So let's see if that's going to work. So I'm going to take this and put a mask on it. And boom, just like that. We're not seeing the background of this image. We're seeing the background of the layer below it because I have a mask on it blocking out that area of the photo. Now, I might need to go in here and clean up some edges, but for right now, this looks pretty good. Yeah, I can see a little highlight bright area right here. So what we can do is take the zoom tool and we're just going to zoom in there, and you can see that's that little teeny tiny edge that we have right there. So we're going to take the brush and the color black. We got to get rid of that. And we're going to make this brush smaller. And simply, if you come in here and you just brush black along that little edge, we will get rid of that nasty highlight. Let me bring this up. I think we're good. And there's a little bit of it there, but let's take a look at that once we get into the label. So I'm going to hit Command 0 to view this back full frame. And yeah, we might need to come in here and edit and clean up some of these other edges, but essentially, the first step is done. So the next step is to use the label. So let's go ahead and turn the label on. And this looks pretty good. And then we've got this label. Let's go ahead and use this label first. So let's see if we can make a selection. This label is kind of weird that it wraps and then it wraps up high back here. I'm going to let this area in the back go dark. Normally, when you photograph bottles, you cut the back label off because it's usually like right in here and it blocks light from getting into the bottle. Sometimes you need to kind of scrape that off and clean it off in the background. But in this case, because it's sort of wraps up the bottle and is not level, We're going to let that get black like we see here in this image. Okay. So let's take the label. So we're going to take the selection tool right here, and I'm just going to tell it where I want it to select. So we're going to draw a little circle around this. I'm not sure why it's not following me, but, and we'll give it a second. It should be able to analyze that and see it. If it's not perfect, that's okay, but that looks pretty good. So let's now make a mask on that. Boom. Now we got a label. All right. So we're using just the label from this. We've got the image here of the bottle. And then we've got this. And remember I said we might just use this for this area up. I'm not so sure how well it's going to make a selection of it because it's pretty dark, but let's see if what we can do. Yeah, it did a pretty good job. So let's go ahead and put a mask on that. So we've got this. Now, this is kind of faded and looks wonky in this image right there. So I might want to remove that and add the label from the image below. So let's go ahead and take a brush. So if we want to remove something, we just need the color black in a brush and make sure that we're on the layer that we need to see. When you do this, you might want to zoom in. So I'm just going to hit plus, 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 plus. And we're going to move in. We can see we've got some little things we need to clean up anyways. So I've got our brush. I want a smaller, harder brush. We can start off a little bit bigger. And we're just going to paint the main area of this out. That looks much better. We'll make this smaller and harder. So when you want to get a more refined or finer edge, you want a harder, smaller brush. Do this perfect because, yeah, I don't want to spend that much time in a tutorial painting something out, but we're going to hit and then hit shift and click, and that will draw a straight line. We'll try to get this better. And it looks pretty good. We're going to go with that. All right, Command 0 to get back out, and boom. That looks a whole lot better. So that's cleaner. We've got the label here and this here, and that looks pretty good. So you can see we're already in a really, really good spot. We have basically cleaned up and made this composite of this image using these 4 different images to get this kind of whiskey bottle image. Now, all I need to do now is just start cleaning it up. So we do have this one little horrible highlight that I see right here. This is the image of the bottle. So that's going to be the image that I need. Now, if I was smart, what I would do is create a new layer. And this layer right here would be kind of clean up. So we're going to call it clean up. Let me do this. This is bottle top. This is label. This is bottle. Everybody knows what's going on. To make these adjustments, we're simply going to use the spot healing brush, but I'm going to go onto my blank layer. And this way, if I mess something up, it won't ruin the image. Right here, you can see we've got sample all layers, and you need that to sample all the way through. So basically, we can then now take this layer and just go like that and start cleaning stuff up. But we're doing it on this blank layer. Ooh, it's not doing so good, but we're going to use it anyways just because it's quick. And I don't want to waste my credits. Move tool for a tutorial like this. And you're going to go through and clean up everything. So if I want to get rid of this bright highlight up there, I can just go over it. Looks like I'm going to need to do it a second time to get it a little bit better. And then I can come up here and I can do all that. And then I would just simply go around and clean up this image until it looked how I want it to look. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to make some adjustments to this image. If I want to do a layer adjustment and adjust the label, let's say I want to adjust the label, I'm going to click on that label. I'm going to make a curves layer adjustment, and I'm going to come down here to this little symbol which clips it. So I'm going to hit clip it. So it's saying, hey, whatever you do here is only going to affect the layer below, which is the label. So what I can do is just brighten this up and darken it, and you can see, yeah, it's doing what I want. So I'm going to simply just bring this midpoint away. I'm going to bring the highlights up a little bit. I'm going to add a little contrast to this. And that looks pretty good. Just making that pop a little bit more. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottle layer. So we're going to go to the bottle layer, make another curves adjustment. We're going to clip that just like we did. So we're saying, hey, make sure that this just happens to the bottle. So we can see it's only going to happen to the bottle. We're going to come down here. We're going to open up some of those shadows, maybe open up some highlights and some shadows. And then I'm going to hit Command I, which is invert, and makes that mask black. And now we're going to simply apply this to that location that I want to adjust. So we're going to make this bigger, make it sort of soft. You're going to take the color white with the brush, not the color black like I did, because it won't do anything. You can brighten that up. So you can see this is just brightening up that location. It looks like I need to get some more highlights in there. So I'm going to make a second curve. And I'm going to brighten it up some more. Command I to get that out. We're going to clip that as well. So we have two clipping layers. Then I can come in here and simply just apply that adjustment into that location. I could come down here and do it, but it's going to waste some time. So I'm not going to go through and clean up this whole image because that would seriously be a waste of time. All right, so with this so I brought up this one last image, and basically on this image, I had a light kind of shining through here, hitting the back of the whiskey bottle. This actually looks like it's pretty close to the background, but there's a good 1.5 feet between here and there. And you can see that light trying to shine through the back of the whiskey bottle is just going to create horrible highlight edges all over the bottle. So that is why we only light the background. We do not light the bottle. Now, can you light the bottle and do some more sophisticated things with multiple light setups? Yes. But with one light, the way to do this, light the background, light the label, combine the images in Photoshop. That is it for how to create a professional level photo of a whiskey bottle using one light, one camera, and a little bit of Photoshop magic. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those below. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe and have an absolute wonderful day.